This is Jeremy Brooks, and you're watching Average Joe Sports Talk.
All right, we're here with Coach Jeremy Brooks of the Gadsden City Lady Titans basketball team. Coach, a long overdue one-on-one we've had. I know we got to talk to you with the AHSAA at the beginning of the year, but we hadn't did a true one-on-one, so we obviously wanted to do that with you, and long overdue here.
Glad to be here.
Thank you, Coach. Starting off, you grew up here in Gadsden. Can you talk about like the early days of you growing up here in Gadsden, and what was your motivation to get you into sports?
Really, my dad and mom just offered me the opportunity to play when I was young, and I was always active, even in the neighborhood, not just playing sports, but riding bikes, skateboards. We were always outside. Didn't have the technology they do today to want to even consider staying in the house. So just started on little RA basketball, church league basketball.
I remember those
days.
At
6 or 7 years old. Little league baseball, and we just went on from there. Just continued playing, all the way up through.
When you in those early days when you played, like you said, RA basketball and Little League, which one of those sports jumped out at you the most?
I think I've always liked basketball the most. I do like baseball. In baseball, I did pitch and catch when I was younger, like in Little League, going up through 13, 14-year-old. And then because I was pitching so much, I started playing the field rather than catching. And I like it, but there's not quite as much action as basketball. Basketball is a little bit more constant. I do like pitching. I actually went to Gadsden State and threw 2 years there. So when you're pitching, you're obviously involved every play. But some of the other positions, you may go a little while without a little action. I like both of them. I'm not trying to knock baseball, but just a little explanation maybe why I like basketball a little bit more.
Gotcha. Now we've talked about this before. You played under George Baker. George Baker's a legend in this state. You actually won a state title with Emma Sansom.
Yeah, my junior year.
Can you talk about George Baker in those early years when you first arrived there? And I know you probably heard the stories before you ever arrived. When you got to George Baker, and we talked to Ollie Smith about this, he said that guy was a legend. And when I got to him, I looked at him as a legend. Can you talk about the early years with Baker, before the state title, and some of the things you were learning at an early age from him?
Well, just I don't know how much I paid attention to Emma Sansom basketball before I got in middle school. I know my parents would take me to some games. But I know in middle school, from the time I was, 6th, 7th grade, Emma Sansom was winning. We had the guys that, were a little bit older than me, Wade Franklin and Reggie Rigby and that crew, that, they were winning a lot of games. They were going deep in the playoffs. Even when I was real young, I remember watching people like Tim Brown play not only basketball but football, traveling on the road, watching them play a football game and all that. So there was that feeling of tradition and feeling that, you're going to be part of something good. And of course, Coach Baker, was, like I said, he was in his prime in those days.
Oh, yeah.
So, I just look forward to being a part of it.
Was there a point Buster Gross ever recruited you?
Yeah, he came up to me several times and asked me because, I think at that time, baseball-wise, we were really young. So one of my good friends, even as freshmen, we were, starting pitchers and all that. So since I got a lot of playing time early in the other sports, I think he saw me as potential football, but I don't think that would have been my gig. I told him that, didn't have any experience playing. We can teach you to be a punter or something. But like I said, I think I made the right choice in sticking to the ones I did.
Absolutely. And you played with Jason Ivey and Matt Hampton, some really unbelievable guys. Can you talk about those guys a little bit on that state championship team?
Yeah, the state championship team, and for now it's passed so many years, people don't quite talk about it as much anymore. But I know
Is that not the last state championship from Gadsden?
I believe it is.
Yeah.
Well, I know that year, I think we won basketball. I think Gadsden High won football that year also. Gadsden High won soccer that year. Etowah got beaten, I think, in the finals, maybe in baseball. So that age group of kids in Etowah County was just, I mean, they were really, really solid players. So sort of got me sidetracked on that. What was the original question for it? Oh yeah, about the players on the state championship team. Well, I went back to saying that is because people talk about, well, man, the team a few years ago was better than y'all, or this Gadsden High, you know, like who was the best team of, I guess, of all time. And my deal with it was, I think there were some more actually talented teams, individual players than us. But it was almost like Coach Baker was coaching a college team where he needed a point guard, so he went out and got Jamal Hickman, or he needed a true post player, so he went out and got Jason Ivey. He needed a shooting guard. We were balanced. I think some team in the past, maybe they were real guard heavy and had some really good players, but they didn't have post players. And I think ours was just a combination of everything. Post players, guards, ball handlers, defenders. And then also we didn't care who scored, whose name was in the paper. Jason Ivey was 5A Player of the Year that year. And I don't know what his final total points per game was, but it could have been a whole lot more because he was unselfish. He had other people that could score. I was the recipient of him being such a good player by him kicking it back out to me on the perimeter. And I think because we just wanted to win. I think team chemistry, all the little outside things, I think mattered as much as our talent.
Was there a point during those 8 years that kind of sparked you being a coach, something that jumped out to you?
I like sports. I really like the X and O part of the basketball and the teaching the game. But really, when I went into college, the first year or two, I really didn't know. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Thought about a few different things, but I really don't know. I just sort of tended to drift to it.
Right.
And I thought I could, get the degree and try it out. And if I liked it, great. If not, then, find something else.
Absolutely.
I've been doing it a while now. So.
Coach, put some tremendous players out the next level. Can you talk about some of those players that's played under you, both at Emma Sansom and at Gadsden City?
We've been fortunate to have some good players because good players make good coaches.
True story.
For sure. And we've been fortunate at Gadsden City. We started off with a string of real good post players. Katina Bet, just as far as I think total, I've had 20-something players sign in my career, from all the way, going from JUCO all the way up to the highest level. As far as some of the biggest ones, Katina Bet was Player of the Year. The very first year of the school, we got beaten in the state finals in 7A. That was probably one of the most talented teams I had. The issue with them was combining all that talent in 1 year. Because even the seniors and all them, most of them, we got them during the summer when the schools consolidated. And, you had to be ready to play. So all new coaching staff, new situation. I thought that team really came together to make it that far, that quick. So she came, Salma, Kentucky, 6'5" post player. You can't teach height.
Yeah,
5,
definitely.
That's just, those don't come around very often. Then after her, we had Cody Paulk, who was very good post player, shot blocker. She's probably the best female shot blocker that I've ever seen. She ended up going to Georgia State. She even played overseas for like 2 or 3 weeks, I think. And she said, I don't think that was for her, and came back. But still, you're actually paid at least a few weeks to play, basketball. So that's pretty impressive. Deja Williams, Troy. Another good post player. Of course, recently, Haley Troop, signed at South Carolina, now it's Missouri. Brooke Burns, was now at UTC. So, that's, again, just some of the ones that we've had, at the highest level. We've had multiple other ones that from, D2 to junior college to whatever.
Here's something I always like to ask coaches. Who are some of the girls that played under you that maybe didn't get a scholarship but played their guts out for you that you'd like to talk about?
Oh man, we just have one. I'll actually talk about her since she's still helping us out right now. It's Brittany Higgins. She did actually go to Huntington and played for a year or so. But she came along at a time where we were really good, but we didn't have much depth. And she sort of had, talk about Ironman football, having to play on both sides of the ball. She normally guarded the toughest, person we needed guarded, and she hardly ever came out. And so, she's one that sticks out, that only played a year or so of college basketball, but was really just sort of, hard nosed and just played a whole lot of minutes. But man, really, to be honest with you, I hate sitting here naming a few because I think that's one of the things that we've been successful with is getting kids to play hard. So really, I think we've had a whole slew of players that really, I guess you could say, good defensively and get after it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you talked about all those great teams in the county back then. Did you ever envision Emma Sansom, Gadsden High, and Litchfield coming together and what that would be like?
No, I didn't. That wasn't even something that was even talked about or considered. I think it just sort of, the one thing as I get older, the one constant thing in society is change. And, there's various factors, both good and bad, that goes into that. But I think that was just part of Gadsden changing. I think in the 1960s or whatever, there was over 60,000 people here in the city limits. And I think it's now probably 37,000. So population, other factors come into play, and then I think it gave all the three schools a good opportunity to get the best education they could get by consolidating facilities and all that. And so I think it's been a success so far.
What led you to ultimately get that job at Gadsden City when it came open?
The Gadsden City or Gadsden City?
You started at Emma Sansom.
Yeah, I started at Emma Sansom.
Right, and then when Gadsden City opened the girls, didn't you take it from the beginning?
Yes, I was there the very first year. I think just success was able to have it in Emma Sansom, and then already being at one of the schools that were consolidating. I have no idea who they interviewed or if they just interviewed coaches from within the system or if they went outside or whatever. But I was thankful that we'd had enough success that I was considered and I was able to get it.
Coach, you recently cracked the 400 win mark in your career. That's pretty remarkable. Can you talk about that achievement for yourself? And have you even given it any thought, or is it just another day at work?
Really, one or two people had mentioned it to me, just because now I've been in it a while. And Coach Huff a few years ago, he was able to get his 400, and we happened to be in the gym, and our AD Todd Lambert, just because me and him are about the same age. We graduated same year, and they just asked me if I added them up recently, and I'll probably be getting close, and I actually did, and I was right there at it, and so not that we wouldn't have known about it later on, but as far as like the ASWA game that we won and was able to be recognized that night with it, it was just like a sort of a random thing that we just
That's
asked.
amazing.
Yeah,
It's a good thing you said something. You might have skipped on past it.
Yeah, I thought actually my wife had talked to him because, we were just talking one day about how long I've been doing it. I knew about how many wins we've been getting per year. Then go back and look, just, knew on average that it was getting pretty close. And so I thought she might have said something to sort of make him think about it. But he said they just, just a random thing. So.
Absolutely. Hey, talk about your wife. We always love to ask coaches this. Talk about your work-life balance, man, and how you maintain that as a coach.
It can be tough. Your wife, family, they have to be on board, I think. I think that's a big part of it. They're part of the team, they're part of the program. You can put as much time into coaching as you want. There's always something else that could be done and you could do. So I think having a balance is good. I I try to do it. Sometimes I might not be successful at it, but she's very understanding and supportive. I got a little 9-year-old, Jordan, who, man, she's all in. She wants
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah, she wants to be around the players as much as she can. She knows most all the players by name, what they do. Okay, AJ can shoot. So-and-so's the rebounder, and she's really into it. I'm surprised she's not with me right now. But, yeah, both of them have to be on board and supportive, I think, for you to continue doing it, because it is a lot of time.
I got you. Speaking of Jordan, man, I'm going to get Josh to put this picture up on this video. I bet I've been told about 700 times that my daughter Lily got mistaken for Jordan when they both wear their glasses.
And they're both at the game.
Dude, I bet I've heard that 700 times. So Lily was just running around here. I was like, no, Lily's not here. And I was like, that's Coach Brooks' daughter, man. So we're going to get a picture put up on this video of those two.
Yeah, they're good friends, too. They always
they're buddies.
hang out at the game.
That's right.
Buddies together.
All right, Coach, here's another question I got to ask you. This is something huge, too. How on earth do you keep your players focused with all the distractions nowadays of cell phones? And
we got one sitting back here
cars.
listening to the interview smiling. It's difficult. They hear me talk about focus and little things all the time. And what we try to get them to do is once they step in between those lines, try to focus on what we're doing, having good practice to prepare for the games, and try to control what you can control, and not have off-the-court distractions of any type, come into the team and cause controversy or whatever, because, we got a difficult road as it is, winning games beside all that. And, I think it's just constantly preaching it to them, and eventually you hope it just, you force it in and it seeps into them. But the outside distraction, of course, it's not near as bad as it is in college and professional sports with it all over TV and media and all that. But I think just being, one of our slogans is win the day. And what I tell them is when you're in the classroom, win that quarter, win that part of the day. Be focused on trig or whatever it is you're in. When you're at home and with your family, and I have to tell myself the same. When I'm with my wife and daughter, and it is not basketball related, I need to be engaged and not, drifting off and thinking about other things, basketball and all that. And hey, I have the same problem. And I think there's just no really. I wish I had a good solution. If you interview somebody and they give a perfect answer, then you call me up.
I'll let you know what they say. We've heard all kind of different answers. That was actually a really good one. All right, Coach. I want to close on this one right here. What do you hope these girls' main takeaway is once they depart from you and go into college or workforce or whatever they do in their day-to-day lives? What do you hope the main ingredients is they've taken from your coaching over the years?
Work ethic and then preparation. I think one of the keys to success, there's multiple keys, but you can work hard, and I really believe in that, but if you're not a smart worker, then you're not maximizing. I know one coach from way back, he's one of the hardest working guys that I know, but sometimes you got to be focused on your intent of what you're trying to get done and where you go, so there's no wasted time. And I feel like I'm going to work as hard, as anybody trying to get my team ready and prepare. And then also you can be a hard worker, but if you don't prepare for it and you're not, putting yourself in position, I think that can be, again, leads you not to maximize your ability.
Absolutely. Coach, we appreciate you sitting in. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.